Hey friends, it's Josh. I want to talk through a four-question trade, which is called a directional open go with post a binary event. In this case, we have CPI reading, and so I want to talk through how to think about that, how to interpret that as you're looking for an opportunity in the day time frame. So let's walk through this, shall we? And I've got the tape queued up here so we can play this again. Where are we and what are we looking at? So we're looking at the S&P that is right before the open. So we're at 725 Mountain, so that's 925 Eastern. And we have had a significant move from a key composite here at 4121. So moves begin from balance, and the auction is moving. So the release happened during the Euro session here, and a big, massive move. In fact, this range right here is the 30 seconds of that CPI reading. Okay, so big range right now. CPI is the new FOMC or non-farm payrolls or whatever, because everybody's talking about inflation. So we got a gap. And how do we know it's a gap? Because we're about to open up here. The prior range is here. So the prior US cash session is here. We're going to open up here. So we call a tier 3 gap. So that's a form of directional open. Directional opens come in gaps, or they come in that we open and immediately drive, or we open, we test, we drive, or we open, we reject and reverse. This is going to look more like we're opening just outside of range. So what other references do we have? We have halfway back in the session. We have the VWAP. So this is the ETH VWAP. That is a reference that I want to pay attention to, because when you get a big move like this on the open and a big gap, one of the references for the auction to come back and test is that full session VWAP. If you can get the first test there, that's likely one to hold. Other things to think about that present opportunity in this potential trade is that right before the open, we're accumulating some volume here, and you can see we got what's a little bit of an imbalance. If we look at this whole profile, we're imbalanced to the upside. We have a key reference that we're looking to target at year-to-date VWAP above us, and we have what's called our overnight stat. So that's the high right here. This is the overnight profile. 97% of sessions we will take out that overnight high. So what's the opportunity? We have opportunity to basically continue in the direction. We have targets of the overnight high and the year-to-date VWAP. We're looking to defend that current VWAP in the range, and looking for early pullbacks in the session towards those references that fail to get follow through further lower than to be long back towards that overnight high. So now I want to go and kind of forward the tape here on the start. We're going to play this back at about 30x speed. And you can see that we're opening here in just about 3 minutes. This is gonna open up. And so here's that overnight high. Okay, so that overnight reference has not been hit. So what we're looking for is we're looking for a pullback not to exceed this ETH VWAP, and then to get this overnight high as the first reference, and then high. Very, very reasonable to expect a pullback when you've had a big move like this, just given how far it's moved. We've exceeded the expected range, and so now we're looking for it to pull back. Seeing some sellers. These are just sellers that are, kind of taking advantage of the, taking profit. Seeing some buyers stepping in. Still haven't had that overnight stat yet, so that's still open, and we're still in the first period. Nothing here that is really attractive to me just yet. Again, we're still looking at this reference here. That's the one that I want to test. Typically, the first tag of that will get a good response. It's the second one that can potentially fail. So let's see if they will. We're now in B period here. Still, the overnight stat is open, and we're waiting to see if we can get a pullback again into this area, into this decision area. This is a form of making the auction come to you. I mean, you could try to chase this here. But you haven't really had them come back to test the reference, and then you're vulnerable of trying to reach for that reference but not have some good trade location. You want to buy below developing value. So this is developing value. You want to buy below that. Okay, in B period now we're pulling back. See how deep we can get this before we potentially turn around. So we're going to zoom in here. Okay, there's the tag right there. See that? That's the tag. Now let's pause this and just take a look and see what's going on. Okay, couple things. Notice that as we came down, this profile really tapers, and then we come back above this reference and actually even trap some sellers right on this price. This right here, the tagging off, that's the entry. Where's the stop? The stop is one tick below here. Where's target one? Target one is the overnight high here at 42.02. Target two would be onto the VWAP up here. Okay, so let's now let this play out, and we can watch as we see this get all the way up. First, it's going to come up here to developing value, which is right around 41.97, and then we'll continue on to get that overnight reference. Again, we're just 1 hour in. You can see we're holding this low. This is the reference we want to hold. So now, want to pull stops up below this test here. Looking good. Back to that developing area of value. Again, this is target one right up here to make those new highs. That would also extend the initial balance high, which completes this another stat, which is called our IB stat, a form of stacking probabilities in your favor. Okay, now we want to stay in this area of volume. We don't want to get acceptance below that before we get to the target. You now have had good excursion on this. Now we're just waiting for that final target, which is then where we would reduce size and look to see if we can hold for the remaining opportunity all the way up at the top. All right, there we go. So now that we've broken through, we've achieved target one. The velocity here is really good. Now you want to pull your stop up and defend this initial balance high as you're going for this next target, okay, which will be achieved fairly quickly here. Good buyers here. We want to defend these buyers, and there's target two, and that completes the trade. If you had a runner, you would defend IB high. You don't want it back inside of that, or you start to rotate back through this range. And that, my friends, is a directional open go with, post a big binary event like a CPI, and getting good trade location where you're forcing the auction to come to you. This is a playbook trade. Make sure that if you're trying to get towards consistency in your approach to markets, you want to have playbook trades like this, that the criteria, what the 4 questions are, how to know that you're right, how to know you're wrong. Again, what was the opportunity? We had a directional move initially looking for that overnight stat, and if we got a pullback to that VWAP that held, that first one was going to give a good excursion. That would be the entry. What would we risk? Well, if we get off of that VWAP and then fail, that we would know we're likely wrong. How we know we're right is that we get the response move off of that, comes back to developing value, building energy to get us onto our target. If you have questions about that, or would like to talk about playbook in your trade and what that looks like as part of your approach to markets, reach out to us, tradewithprofile.com. Peace.